The creator economy. This is a concept that we've been hearing and talking about for the last 2 years, but is it actually different from influencer marketing? To talk about this, I have Dot Lang, the mother of social dragons, and she's been doing this for 10, 15 years. I'm so pumped to be able to have her here on the show. Also, this podcast episode is brought to you thanks to my friends at Riverside, and I'll talk more about this later. Dot, I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome to the show. I'm really curious to start by asking you, how do you think about social content? Has it changed since you started? Tell me about it. How you think about content these days?
Wow, that's a loaded question. How do I think about content? Well, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. It's definitely changed over the years. It's like the hardware of our technology, like the iPhone that I had, from iPhone 1 to today I have iPhone 14 Pro, X, whatever. Just looking at the hardware is how much our social content has changed over the years. All of the types of content we're able to just create on our mobile phone, and it's absolutely incredible how the technology has changed and how we're able to really express ourselves. Because at the end of the day, that's why I feel you and I, we're creators, we're on social media because we like to create and we want to express who we are. And that's what it was since when MySpace was around. Back then, you had to code your HTML1, whatever it was on, and make pretty colors and fonts and express yourself that way, to today where, look at your profile, you're creating amazing short form video content, and just the pace of how you edit and, your tone of voice, and that's style. That is expressing yourself through your video style.
This is so interesting for me, and the fact that you are thinking, or you've experienced the Facebook before it was even Facebook, and it was the original purpose why it was created for was the whole college thing. That to me is mind-blowing, because I would assume you were in the US at the time and I was in Barcelona, and that thing didn't hit in Barcelona. We got it when it was already a social thing. If that makes sense.
Because I was trying to hit on DJs and guys, and I was like, hey, what's your Facebook profile in Barcelona? And they're like, what's Facebook?
Quick note here for my brands and content creators. This episode was only possible thanks to Riverside. This is the tool that I use to record these conversations remotely. And the reason why it's so freaking cool is because it records the content locally in each of our computers. So that means if the connection sucks and I start breaking up like this, nothing happens because the content is high quality, is recorded on my computer, and we're all happy. This is the reason why I started using Riverside over a year ago. But what makes it really special recently is that they're adding a lot of AI features, auto-generated clips from the conversation, auto transcriptions that automatically generate captions. So basically, this is an AI powerhouse for editing and for content creation. Now, if you want to give it a go, there's a link on the description below with a discount for you. I would say just try it and see if it's for you. And now back to the episode. It's really interesting how you approach the question as the evolution of the tools, right? The other side of the equation is distribution, which has completely changed. And I think this is the one that most brands, in my opinion, still don't get, because it's changed. Before we had the social networks, and now we've got discovery-based algorithms. And so do you think brands are getting it? Do you think brands understand the implications of that change?
There are definitely some really top players, their agencies and brands are doing amazing work on social. So they're definitely, the top brands, they have the best thinkers working for them, right? So they're doing awesome work and quite impressive. I mean, take a look at the Barbie marketing campaign that's out right now, and it is mind-blowing. But I guess $50 million, you can do a lot with that. So as more entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, startup, smaller type of businesses, that's very hard to compare ourselves. We shouldn't compare ourselves to the big guys that have the Coca-Colas, the Apples, that have these major advertising budgets. What we can do is compete with ourselves, which is okay, what can I do with the tools that I have and the distribution that I have, to create visibility for my business and, my personal brand, for example, which is something, I talk a lot about because that's what made my entire career in business, is investing in a personal brand, because that was an easier way to really create visibility for my business versus like competing with Coca-Cola, right? Like I'm never going to get budgets like that. But with your uniqueness and who you are and you as a person, you're able to build a community even faster than a nameless, faceless brand. So I think that's the transformation we have also been witnessing, is that, in the olden days with television and, one-way broadcasting communication, we're moving totally into one-on-one and one-to-many personal human-to-human connections. So this is why we're seeing a huge rise in personal brands and, personal brand communities. And I think brands are seeing this, and that is why they're also, the top brands are investing in their C-level suite. Everybody must be on LinkedIn. Everybody must have, Instagram or Threads, whatever it is that whichever platform they're going to invest in. They're building these personal brands, and you can see that because there's an enormous growth in the amount of freelancers that are doing ghost copywriting for, CEOs and C-level executives. So this is happening, guys. It is happening right now.
It is happening. It is happening. Also, I think when we talked about these kind of things, which is fascinating to me because I'm all about branding, right? So some people asked me recently, but like, I thought you were the branding guy and now you talk about content. I'm like, yes. And the reason is because I realized the only way to build your brand is through content. Like that's how you do it. Yes, you can have a brand strategy, and yes, you can create your brand identity, but like the reps, the day-to-day, that's your content online. Like that's it. And so I think it's good when we have these type of conversations to drop some names for people watching or hearing this episode, for them to like investigate and do some research. So one of my favorite brands doing this, like actually like leveraging these like more traditional personal branding type of like techniques, where like having a face, like having one-to-one interactions and stuff like that. And implementing and bringing that to the world of like a brand is Nothing Technology, for example. Technology company that's trying to like compete with Apple, right? And they're based in the UK and they're launching like a smartphone and like some earbuds. The way they're running their YouTube channel, the way they're doing their short form video, it's like fully creator oriented and like fully creator driven. Like it's content that you actually want to watch. Now to launch their new phone, they're partnered with Cassie Neistat for like a vlog type of video.
Yeah.
And it's just have you seen that?
That's the only reason why I know what you were talking about, because literally the only reason why I know that brand is because I follow Casey, and that's why I was like, oh yeah, I know, I saw that brand. I don't have any of their products, but I know about it because they're doing amazing brand collaborations.
Tell us a little bit, like, how do you work with brands, and what's your relationship with brands today?
I've always been, working with clients since I started. Before I had a personal brand, I had an agency in Barcelona, 360 VR Barcelona, whoop whoop. We were making 360 social media videos for all types of companies, from like pharmaceuticals to media to music festivals. That was one of our main clients, was the music festivals of Barcelona. So, I would get to...
Which I know very well.
So I would go to work at a music festival and make
awesome.
Video content, which was really, really fun. But what's happened is I decided to close that agency, mainly because it didn't work out with my previous partner and I went full into the personal branding space. And started, making courses and doing keynote talks and, really building out the personal brand space, because that's kind of where the industry is moving. And that is how I work with brands today, is that they are literally contacting me like, hey, we need influencers. We need more people to collaborate with us that have communities. They don't, they can hire any video agency to like make content or content experts, but they can keep that in-house. But what they don't have in-house are the influencers, are the content creators that have their own communities that can represent and be an ambassador to their brand. So this year alone, like every brand that I'm working with, from the Adobe to the Meta to Bloom, Bloom.io, one of like the coolest brands that we're helping build up right now, is really to build out their ambassador and influencer program. Okay, so this is such a crucial part of the marketing mix right now that there's a lot of money being thrown in here. And I'm like following where the money goes. So that's where it's going right now.
Love that. I love that. I think you talked about something very interesting, and I feel like a lot of people watching this might be wondering about this question. Because you mentioned influencers, and I feel like the word influencer is kind of like not that hot anymore, and everyone's talking about creators. So please, get us out of the dark here. Like, what's the difference between an influencer and a creator? Is it the same thing, in your opinion, or is there something different?
Wow, that's another loaded question, Alex. You're getting so deep in this.
Oh my God, we're just getting started. This is like a
philosophical question. Like,
all my questions are like that.
So all I can do is give you my opinion, which is, I believe everybody is a creator. We are all human beings that have two hands and a beautiful mind that is creative, and we can create and make things. Everybody can do this. So we're all creators. The difference between, the influencer, famous creator, and like you is that they have been doing this for a long time, and they're doing it repetitiously. They're doing consistently. They have made a name for themselves. So that is like today's creators. We're talking about, the Casey Neistats, the Nas Dailies, these type of YouTubers, Mr. Beast. Like, I never even watched a piece of Mr. Beast content, but I know who he is, right? Like these big time creators, like they're doing it, in a very big way. But you know what, to make a full-time living as an influencer / creator, you don't need to have a big audience. That is the misconception. You can have a very niche, small audience and still make a living off of creating content if that is your goal, right? So an influencer, I believe, is anybody. I actually learned this from my psychology teacher because we were learning about like the psychology of like influence, and she taught me, and this is why I always say, like, everybody is an influencer, right? Everybody has their sphere of influence. It could be, just your family that you're influencing, like, the 4 or 5 people around you, or you can have a large sphere of influence, which is, 100,000 followers or what have you, right? But you are, no matter what, who you are, where you come from, you do have influence on the immediate people around you. So it's up to you on how you're going to use that influence and if you want to cultivate your influence. So for myself, that was something that I decided to consciously do since I opened my first Facebook account in 2004 or 2005. I was like, oh, I can like reinvent who I am on the internet. Like, this is interesting, right? Like, how am I going to like carefully create the architecture of this persona that I'm playing online. And this is the power of like building your influence. It's something that can be built. Anybody can do it. So I use the word influencer and creator like interchangeably because we're kind of developing all of these, vocabularies that as we go along. And it just depends like which industry they use their special words. In Asia, when I was working in Hong Kong, they were using like, I was like influencer. They're like, no, KOL, like key opinion leader, right? So it just depends like what, how the culture is, where you're working. But it's up to, Alex, it's up to you and I to tell the world.
I agree. I feel like
we should be using. What's your opinion?
So I'll share my thoughts. So I think for me, the way I think about it is influence and influencers are, like you say, people that have an impact on someone else's opinion, right? Or the way on someone else's point of view. You can have influencers that are on like any, in my opinion, any niche, any space, anywhere. It could be from like a book author to like a politician, could be an artist. It's just people who actually change or influence the way people think or view the world, right?
Sure.
And the way I think about creators, and that's literally just my own personal opinion, like you say, we're just making this shit up as we go, right? But like in my mind, a creator has something unique to their skills and the way they operate in the online world, which is through making content. A politician doesn't need to know how to make content, or even like a football player, right? Like Cristiano Ronaldo, who is, I think, the most followed account on Instagram, doesn't need to know how to make a reels, but a content creator knows. And so I think that's the main difference, where you would hit that person, the influencer, for their community and their reach, and then you would work with the creator for their skills. And there's an overlap where some creators will become influencers, and then some influencers will get better making content. So there's an overlap, and I think that's when things are a bit more confusing, but at least that's how I think about it, if that makes sense.
I agree with that completely. I think that's a great way to think about it, and it makes more sense now, because when, as a brand, when we're hiring, influencers or creators, there's some people that we hire just because they're a celebrity, they're famous, but they don't, like you said, they don't need to know how to create any content. They just are well known and have a massive sphere of influence because they're in some sort of media. They don't necessarily need to make content. We would make content of them. So they're totally 100% influencer. Whereas if you can be a creator influencer, you have both, right? So I think that's more of a lethal weapon in the social media space, because you have the skills to make yourself an influencer. We're nobody. And when we're looking at Hollywood, we're nobody, but we can make content on YouTube. So that is why these worlds are starting to collide, right? We're starting to see traditional like YouTubers and like the mainstream media and like mainstream media, like the Hollywood people, like Matthew McConaughey, like what is he doing on YouTube right now? Like he just had this, I was like, this is not okay. Like I do not want to see Matthew McConaughey in my YouTube ad.
This is very interesting because we'll see in a few years from now where Hollywood is and where YouTube is, especially now, like Hollywood is a hot topic with all the strikes by artists, the writers and all of that, because in a way the all like engine of traditional media and like movies and all of that is kind of like dying, and like it's like a struggling universe versus the career economy on YouTube. It's just past Netflix and Disney in watch time a few months ago, and it's just becoming the thing where actually people want to spend more time on. And I think that's an interesting conversation. So Matthew maybe has realized that there's also, maybe it's interesting to have both legs, like one in each part of like the
Matthew
ecosystem.
And Will Smith as well.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a monster on all of the social media channels. So
I wonder, when you're working with creators or influencers, and like you said, like you're building up brands with creators and influencers, what do you look on a creator? Like what do they need to have, or what skills do you look for on the creators you work with to build up those brands?
So this is definitely like my opinion, and I think this is why I get to work with some of, I would say, the top creators and most unique type of people and brands that we all love so much, because for me it's really about if the creator has a unique angle and perhaps personal story, right? And that is why people follow them. People are following you because you have a uniqueness. You're different than the others. You're not trying to just be like another influencer. And this is like the power of you, the power of who you are and your story and where you're from and your accent and your back history. Like there's no one else that has that. And the more that you're a creator is known for who they are, it has nothing to do with like how many followers they have. right? It's
Right.
who they are as a person. And that's really important. And if their mission and their vision is aligned with what the brand is also trying to achieve, like there's a match there. So it's not necessarily like, oh, you need to have a massive audience. It's about what is your mission and what is your vision. And if that brand's strategy is aligned with this creator's profile, like I believe that's a match. So I am always seeking awesome, cool people that are literally being as authentic as possible, because there's no room for fakes, right? We don't have time for fake influencers. I just want to find the real people that are out there doing their damn thing and being who they truly are. That's who we want to work with. Now, I want to also note that I see creators all the time. They're blowing up. I've been in this for over like 12 years right now, right? Like, so I've seen, and you as well, like I've seen you, and you were working at Typeform before, and then all of a sudden, like you're really growing your creator channel. So I'm seeing people like you, people like, that have already been in the space for a decade. And so I see the new people coming up, and that's part of what my job is to know like the who's who and who's actually going to be like serious and, long lasting in this business. Because let me tell you, I watch people burn out all the time, and it's like an ongoing, like, I mean, it's pretty, fucked up. Like, we're just like, oh, I wonder, like, this person's going to burn out soon because they're just like,
grinding.
and we see creators all the time, like, oh, I had to take a 4-month break and like get back on this, rat race, because it is not easy to be a creator. And so when I'm looking at who to work with, I'm looking at, is this person like not going to like fall off suddenly, like, in the next 6 months? Like, I need to make sure they're here to stay. Right. And it's tragically, I think, I don't know if I've worked with someone that's happened to us before, but Alex, I know you've seen it happen, right? Like,
and you can tell. I think you can tell, like you were saying. I think you can tell when a burnout might come. You admire the people who are there, like every day posting. Is like, you wonder, how do they do it? Like, how is that possible? Like, are you running a business and they're like making content and like sleeping and having a life, and like, how do you do it? And I think that's one of the big learnings that I think creators can take from brands. That brands, because they're organizations and they have like employees that have their like 9-to-5 jobs and stuff like that, they need to find systems to do that at scale. And they need to find ways of making every employee not an essential piece of the organization, because otherwise they would build too much dependency on that. And as a creator, that's kind of like the opposite, because like you're there, your face is there. And so if your channel is called Alex Antolino or .Lung, you know what I mean? It's like, that's you, like that, like you need to be there. And it is true that like burnout, it's a thing. Building systems and just thinking about ways and things that you can do consistently at scale. Maybe I don't post every day, or maybe I don't post every week just yet, but like I know I'll be doing this for 5-10 years. And so I'm not in a rush. I'll just figure out my way and like adjust as I go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember I talked to you, like, when was it, when we were in LA at the Entrepreneur?
What, a year ago?
Yeah, was that a year ago already? Jesus.
I think so.
I think it's like more, maybe even more. But yeah, I remember you were saying like, yeah, I'm investing my time in building the channel. Like, you already had the time investment that that you need to give yourself, the runway to create all of the content, create the brand through your content, which you're doing an amazing work at. And that's why, I am so sure I'm going to get you early, because all the brands are going to be wanting to work with you because of, the level of skill that you have to make the content. And of course, you're a creative director, you worked with big brands and brands all the time. And this is what I wanted to mention, is like the difference between working with a creator that has business experience versus a creator that is just like, oh shit, I just got famous like overnight and like I don't know how to run this business. Like, it is night and day. And like for somebody like that's scouting creators and influencers, like, and working with brands, like I don't have time to coach and like, help a newer YouTube celebrity like figure out, what their rates are, what their media kit, their replying to my emails, like just like basic business etiquette. So if you have like a background in like freelancing or handling clients, like that really helps you and your professionalism.
Look, this is such a real conversation though, because it's not the first time that I talk about this with someone, and it's such a real pain for most brands. I think it's challenging because one, like you say, the people who are transforming and creating the space of the creator economy, a lot of them are very young. It's probably their first business experience in the business world, in the corporate world. And then on the brand side, it's completely unexplored territory. And I think that's why we need to find ways to help these two worlds speak the same language and make sure that they are ready to work with each other on both sides, I think. To start wrapping this up, for every entrepreneur listening here and for every brand person listening here, that they get excited, they're like, you know what? I actually think I have a couple $1,000, $3,000 to test my first time working with a couple creators. What's like a really practical advice for a brand has never worked with a creator before, that are concerned because they don't know where to start or how to find a creator? Just a couple of things they could do if they have a bit of a budget to allocate, what is that they should do to work with a creator and be in a safe space.
Well, I guess if the budget is a couple thousand to spend maybe on, one or two videos, depending on, the niche and the creator itself, but finding a good fit, I think is really important, because at the end of the day, the creator you work with is an extension of your brand. So you want to make sure this person would actually fit in your own company culture and is part of, the company, the brand as a whole. And they're actually going to be the face, right? They are going to be the face of your product, the face of your brand. So you want to make sure you would hire this person to work with the company. And I guess the question is more about how do you find this person? Well, something that I've been doing, every time I get a new campaign or whatever, I literally just ask my own community, because my community is going to, tell me, well, who are they following? What type of content are they consuming?
All right, cool. So what I'm taking here is, first of all, interview like it's no one's business. Make sure that the person is the right fit, as if you were to hire that person, be part of your company culture. Then ask your network, try to find them through people following the brands that are in your space, people talking about those things. And then also maybe have a bit of a longer relationship. So not just hire them for one video, because that's too much pressure on both sides, but actually try to build a bit of our relationship. So even if you have a small budget, instead of one video, try to do 2 or 3 smaller videos, so the creator get a sense of the brand and you get a sense of the creator. Is that right?
You couldn't have said it better.
Well, I don't know about you, but I really enjoyed this conversation. And if you did, I think you're now ready for the next step, which is, let's talk about creator brands. What's a creator brand? We've talked a little bit about this, and I think I want to learn more about this. So that's why I jumped on a conversation with Bas, the founder and CEO of Too Hot Music, a YouTube channel with over 3 million subscribers. And we talked about the creator economy, the creator brands, and the business model behind a creator brand. I think you really like this episode, and it's linked right here. So go watch it and thank me later.